Man, the Ringley Brothers Barnum and Bailey circus ain't got nothing on the White House. This circus is playing out worldwide.
I have held my peace long enough, listening to the choir invent its hymns about waste and wickedness while standing nowhere near the altar. Let me put a word in your ear not to soothe you, but to wake you. I do not care which banner you wave, which elephant or donkey flag you fly on your house. Politics is the costume. The body is the same. I have worked in these halls of need since 2018, 7.5 years, measuring the distance between a citizen's hunger and the state's promise. Food stamps and Medicaid are not abstractions to me. They are faces, trembling hands, grocery receipts, nights without sleep. And I will tell you plainly, the first lock on the door is legal status. Undocumented people are not eligible. We verify citizenship. We verify law. The rumor is a comfort for those who need a villain. It is not a fact for those who handle the files. What you've been fed by the news, by your blinking For You page, is a convenience designed to spare you the trouble of knowing your neighbor. If you saw a man in the market with a card and you judged his accent, you did not witness fraud. You witnessed your own education failing you. You saw a woman with a headscarf and called her illegal because the old American imagination cannot conceive of difference without guilt. Let me make this plainer. The majority of the clients are white. I say this not because it matters morally. Hunger does not sort itself by color, but because the libel falls hardest on the backs already bent by accusation. And here is the next offense against your fantasies. Most recipients work. You heard me. They work. And the arithmetic of this nation's economy humiliates them all the same. The rent outruns their paychecks. The daycare bill is a thief with a key. The utilities arrive like verdicts. Picture it. $13 an hour, while $1,000 rent peers down like a judge. One paycheck devoured by shelter, another by the simple indecencies of surviving. Soap, gas, shoes that don't talk back. Those who are not working are not lounging. They are disabled or caring for the disabled and, in a saner country, would be honored, not interrogated. I will not ask you to pity anyone. Pity is too cheap a currency for a debt this deep. I will ask you to look squarely at the lie. The average American household would struggle to find $5,000 for a storm that could damage their home or destroy their property, and storms do not consult your schedule. No more than a major car repair check your account balance before it decides to take a break. A heart attack will not reschedule itself because you scoff at entitlements. A pink slip from your employer will not apologize. A drunk driver will not inquire about your views on taxation before taking a lane. The distance between your comfort and catastrophe is the width of a single phone call. It takes only one misfortune to usher you into the office where you once swore you would never be seen, and there you will find not a queue of cheats, but a congregation of the country's truest believers. People who still think this nation owes them not charity, but a chance. I say this as one who, as a child, vaguely remember my mother as a single parent, had what was called back in the late 60s food stamps on occasions to purchase food. She was working 2 jobs and still short because you cannot bargain with the price tag. Food stamps and Medicaid are not indulgences. They are oxygen. It allowed her to plan a life instead of bartering it away. My grandmother was a woman of means, but the pride in my mother refused to seek help again, brought on by the stigma that society has made people feel as though they should be ashamed and their survival as a moral failure. You never know what situation has occurred in that person's life that required them to seek assistance. I am sure that played a part in her decision to keep the diagnosis of lung cancer a secret. This administration has used bullhorns to yell about fraud and abuse. Very well. Begin at the top. Let's talk about the Department of Government Efficiency. That fired thousands of gainfully employed people just so the head of the made-up organizations could get his hands inside the cookie jar. And oh, let's not forget the many investigations that were underway regarding his companies. I wonder what happened to all of the evidence, but that's another topic for another day. The American people was all overjoyed. Finally, many were yelling, "Drain the swamp," to later find out that it was all a ruse. Audit the corporations that ring a city like a set of iron gates and pay wages that make charity inevitable. Count the subsidies that descend like blessings upon boardrooms while the cashiers tithe their hours to the heat and the rent. In America, theft is respectable when it is tall enough to see over the counter. If you desire less fraud, pay a wage that does not require a miracle to make it to the first of the month. If you cannot, then hush your mouth and start carrying a couple cans of food to the food bank. Every time you go grocery shopping, pick up extra. It is better to be silently useful than loudly cruel. Meantime, you are church mouse silent when the very one you cheated and voted for is stealing billions from taxpayers and setting up his equally rich pals. And on Sundays, you sit in your best dress cosplaying being a Christian. The cruelty, you will notice, is not an accident. It is policy dressed up as personality. The talk shows and the comment sections, the electronic lynch mobs of our time need a scapegoat to satisfy the nation's thin faith in its own innocence. So they lift up the welfare queens, the immigrants, the lazy like idols, and the people desperate to believe that their virtue is the reason for their survival. But for those who have had careers in public service and are currently serving, know the mundane truth. Most want less from the government, not more. Most want the dignity of a paycheck that does not betray them at the register as people gawk at them from head to toe. The word assistance is tragic in America because it imagines a ladder in a room with no floor. Consider the arithmetic of this so-called greatest nation. If it is a sin to need help, then it is a sacrament to hoard. We have canonized scarcity, called it discipline, and then marveled when the poor break under the liturgy. What is mocked as dependency is often nothing more than the human body insisting upon its right to stay alive in the face of an economy that pays in hunger. And what you label personal responsibility is frequently the state refusing to be responsible for the conditions it has created. Red lines that became lifelines, strangled, schools underfunded into obedience, hospitals that welcome you last and bill you first. I am not fooled. The fury at the poor is really fury at the mirror. It takes a certain savagery to believe that the cashier should starve so the customer can call himself self-made. It is easier to conjure a phantom immigrant eating your dinner than to confess that the landlord has eaten your future, the insurer has eaten your health, and the employer has eaten your time. I do not deal in fantasies. I deal in reality that cannot be prayed away. As a kid, I would watch the commercials of the kids in Africa starving, bellies swollen, half-clothed flies circling their mouths. I cannot believe there is a God, for the suffering, the starvation, the homeless is still in crisis, generations after generations. Our cemeteries are full of people praying and reciting scriptures until their last breath, and then new generations are born doing the same. Yet, we print on our currency, "In God we trust." That is where our value lies, in wealth, not the wealth of humanity. Every number has a face. Lives are not for bartering. Let me be blunt. Since politesse has failed to save anyone, if you truly want to make this world better, pay people. Build a business that lifts, not a brand that lectures. And if you cannot, if the margins are too thin and the heart is thinner, then have the decency to be quiet. Donate. Volunteer. Stand out of the way of those who are trying to live. The moral distance between shut up and show up is the chasm in which nations fall. Here is the part you will not forget. One day, life will tap your shoulder. It will be a biopsy result, or a late night call, or a tremor in a mother's hand. On that day, you will enter a governmental office. You will bring your documents and your dignity. You will be asked questions that bruise without meaning to. And someone, a stranger, perhaps the same ethnicity you mock, will try to knit a net beneath you with whatever thread this country has not yet cut. You will discover then what the lie cost you, for you might have helped to strengthen that net. Instead, you chose to sneer at it. I hope, nonetheless, that it holds. Do not talk to me of deserving. This nation did not deserve to find itself on a continent that did not need it, did not deserve the labor it stole, did not deserve the wealth it sanctified with sermons and whips. If grace exists here at all, it will be because we decide that survival is not a prize you win for behaving, but a right you have for being born. Until then, cease the slander, feed the hungry, and if you cannot manage either, at least do not confuse your comfort for character. The world is hungry enough without your contempt. If you have heard anything here, let it be this. A nation is not judged by the ease of its winners, but by the mercy of its witnesses. We are the witnesses. We have seen the receipts that doesn't stretch, the prescription that must be bargained with, the mother who learns to count the cost of groceries in her head at the register and still comes up short. Do not ask me for a prettier story. I have none. Ask yourself instead why your comfort requires someone else's shame. If you found yourself depressed in the direction of this America, with this republic, with humanity, I need for you to muster every drop of courage, with love, not anger, because love refuses to faint. Carry it to the place where it can do its work. Share this with the one who still worships at the altar of Christian nationalism in this MAGA twilight zone. Speak as if the hungry can hear you because they can. Put your money and your mouth in the same sentence. Donate where it counts. Vote for elected officials that represent the least of us. The miracle you are waiting for can't manifest with prayers. It must be made. And if you are the one standing at the counter, card in hand, hear me. You are not the scandal. You are the testimony. You are proof that survival is a right, not a rumor. We will keep telling the truth, stubbornly, publicly, until this administration lies ceases about immigrants, people of color, the poor, disabled, homeless, LGBTQ, and about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Until then, stay in the fight, be gentle, be unafraid, unapologetic, kind, and come visit with me on my next video. So hit like and subscribe to help grow this online platform, to join in the sea with other great coalition warriors. We have work to do.
They're starting to flow, a dream of change, a heart that won't bow, freedom